Alright, so welcome back to episode 3 of Blazing Cast. I almost called it Comic Cast for a second, but now we're on Blazing, we're on Blazblue. So, welcome back. I have two new guests with me again actually no, I have two new guests with me this time for episode 3. We have, they'll introduce themselves individually, but we have Seven from America, East Coast, and also Onikage. Seven, if you wanna, do the honors, introduce yourself a little bit, talk about what character you play, what fighting games you like, your fighting game history and stuff, and then just like what you're doing right now in fighting games, essentially.
So I've been playing fighting games since like 2011. Granted, I'm only 25, but I've just been playing that shit since I've been off rip, huh? I've been playing it. I've been playing fighting games since 2011, since like middle school. So I've just been kind of stuck with them for a while. The type of fighting games I like, I mean, honestly, it just depends. The game itself just has to feel good. I don't really have a necessary like requirement for the game. And what I'm doing right now in fighting games right now, I'm just playing like Blaze and Street Fighter. Blaze, because it's probably my favorite game of all time, and Street Fighter 6 because it's new, it feels good. I want to see how it pans out. But I just upload replays for Blaze, and right now I'm working on a project to show like all different character matchups for Azrael. I don't know if I'm gonna do Hakumen. That might be a tall bill, but Azrael I can do.
Yeah, so you play in BlazBlue. You play Hakumen and Azrael. Did you always play those two, or did you play one before the other?
Azrael didn't come till Chrono Phantasma. So in previous BlazBlues, I played Bang and I played Valkenhayn.
Bang?
Damn.
Yeah, I tried playing Hakumen. That didn't go too well, so I just played Bang and Valkenhayn.
That's mad random.
Yeah, that's
I was going through the characters. I was like, none of these guys look that cool to me. So I was like, something, we're just gonna go with this. This guy looks cool. I didn't know that Bang was like a comedic gag character. I thought like from the way he looked on his art, I was like, oh, this dude's probably look cool as hell. He's probably one of them. And I was playing, I was like, oh, this dude's just a jokester. But apparently he was godlike in 1.0. I was like, yo, let's let this rock. Because basically everything just worked. I think his jab was like plus something egregious. And everything on him was good. Like 623B wall bounced mid-screen and brought him back to you. But that character was cracked. It was a good time. And then I played Valkenhayn, but I didn't play Valkenhayn, so you know how that goes.
Yeah, I get you saying. So who are you playing in Street Fighter 6 then?
I'm playing Marissa and Gal right now.
Marissa and who? Oh, Gal.
Yeah, Marissa and Gal.
Okay.
Marissa, I'm getting like the feel of her just to see how everything feels. I'm not solo main that character because I can feel like she's gonna have some issues.
Fair enough.
Yeah, but Gal is Mr. Solid, Mr. Honest.
Yeah, those. I saw Knuckle Dude playing some mirrors on stream, and that's the first time I've ever seen any mirror like that in my life. Literally just sonic booms after sonic booms and just projectiles.
Yeah, like, it'll get like that. It'll definitely get like that. 100%.
Crazy. I've never played a charge character. I don't think I ever will.
Well, you didn't play Strive, did you?
No. I mean, no, not really. Very casually.
So like in games, not every charge time is the same. Some charge times is more lenient. Other times it's a little bit more demanding. So for like in Strive, they were charge characters, but to keep it a stack, bruh, it wasn't a charge. You just press back for it. The move was probably coming.
Right. Fair enough.
But in Street Fighter, there's usually like a little bit of time that you do the charge. It's really not that bad. You just have to get used to the timing itself. And it also makes it to where it almost feels like you can't really get an input error because it's literally just back forward.
Yeah.
And down up. But of course, the only time you mess up was when you mess up the charge timing.
Yeah, exactly. I think the first charge character I actually had like experience like playing in training mode was actually Parasol from Skullgirls, and that felt mad hard to me. As that was like when I literally That was because Skullgirls was the first fighting game I played after Dragon Ball Fighters, and Dragon Ball was my first fighting game player ever. Obviously, that game doesn't have any charge characters, so going from
Skullgirls.
I think Skullgirls is a great game. It's not for me. I don't think to play like long term, but in short bursts, I think the game's great, and I think it's great to watch. So that's one of my favorite games, but I actually don't play it. But yeah, I really like that game.
Okay.
But yeah, I didn't coming from Dragon Ball Fighters to Parasol, it was like, damn, I am not good at fighting games, so I can't play his character.
So just not to derail the topic too much, but just from your perspective, coming from like Dragon Ball Fighters into other fighting games, how did you feel going from fighters to, I guess, what some people consider more traditional fighting games?
Mm-hmm. That's a good question.
Without like the wild, the wild mechanics, a lot of defensive mechanics that you usually, that you're accustomed to. How how did it kind of feel just going from that to like other games like Blaze, Skullgirls, etc., etc.?
That's actually a good question. I think I will get to that, but let's have Oni introduce himself, and then we can segue into that as the segue for the point we want to talk about today. I think that'll be a good segue to that. But I'll write that down and we can get to that after. So Onikage, another East Coast resident. If you want to talk about the same thing, fighting game history, characters you play in Blaze, and I guess what character you're playing in Street Fighter right now as well.
Got you. So I started like I want to say in 2017. I had an Xbox, right? And this was around the time CF came out, but CF wasn't on the Xbox. So me and my friend group at the time, we ended up buying CPEX. I was originally supposed to get into Guilty Gear, right? Because that was the hot shit at the time. Exert F2, I believe.
Yeah.
And they just didn't have that shit on the Xbox, so I ended up CPEX for a little while. I saved up some birthday money, ended up getting like PlayStation 4, and that's when I formally started with like CF2 back in like 2017. I've always played Ragnar, like since the beginning.
This guy,
that's my goat,
my
goat character.
Low key, I used to think that Ragnar players were like the edgy bunch, which was off brand for me because I usually don't. The main characters usually aren't really the edgy ones, right? Like Goku.
Yeah.
I played Philia but I mean, I guess everyone's kind of edgy in Skullgirls. But I played Soul. What other characters have I played? I'm trying to think of my short fighting game history now. Scorpion and Sub-Zero, but again, everyone's kind of edgy in more combat. I played Akatsuki and Yuzuriha in Under Night. So those aren't really edgy characters, but yeah, the Shotos and the main characters usually are the edgy ones. So I also started with Ragnar when I started playing.
Ragnar always looks a little bit edgy.
Yeah.
But like when you delve into his character and just the way he talks, you can
exactly.
tell he's just kind of a chill ass person. A lot of Ragnar players aren't like kind of crazy either, right?
Yeah.
But funnily enough, I originally was gonna play Terumi. Right, that was gonna be my character, especially coming into like playing CF like online back during delay-based days. And one of my friends at the time, shout out to Splish, or he goes by like Risu now, I think. Right? He plays Makoto. He put me on. He was like, "Yo, you should like learn the game by playing Ragnar." And like since then, I've just played like
no looking back.
No looking back. I played BlazBlue a healthy amount, and then when Guilty Gear Strive came out, that's when I was like, I want to try and play other fighting games. I thought Ramlethal looked pretty cool, so picked her up on launch. Yeah, she was.
There's about 10 people in the chat right now, just calling you slurs and shit, bro.
I played that for a couple months, and I realized that wasn't for me. Went back to BlazBlue. This is during like delay-based days. I don't know if you were even. You were kind of there, Seven, but
brother, man, I was. There is an understatement.
That shit was just so true.
Damn, he was in the thick of it.
Yeah, like on 360, it was like it had that Street Fighter 4 effect, or it was because the native input delay system was like so good. It didn't necessarily feel as bad. Granted, if I went back to it now, I'd probably feel awful. But when I had when Chrono Phantasma got on PS3 and had to go on PS3, I'm like, bro, this is awful. This is one of the worst things I've ever played on. Because PS3 was already a bad system regardless, but
Yeah.
this is just playing that online was like the worst thing ever. And then when I went offline for Chrono Phantasm for the first time, I was like, wow, this is like a completely different game.
Yeah.
Because I'm sitting here thinking like Hazama was just an unbeatable character. Like, oh, wow, I can actually react to everything. This is wild.
Yeah. After after a while, I really got into it with myself. I ended up dropping BlazBlue back in like 2021 because no rollback in sight. Right, we didn't even know at the time. And I played Melty Blood. I played Type Lumina
Oh, really?
for a good 4 months. I mean, I'm not gonna try to sit
Sorry.
here and I'm not gonna try to sit here and I'm sorry. I'm not gonna try to sit here and like flex or nothing, but it was like I was probably like one of like three Shikis that were playing in tournament, like
Hmm.
really strong, like on the stronger side of things.
Hmm.
Um, it was fun. I played that for a couple months, and then I realized that the shield stuff really wasn't my kind of vibe,
Yeah,
and so once BlazBlue got that announcement,
it
that
was
was
over.
CEO, right? Oh,
C Otaku. I think it was C Otaku, was it? Or was it
I
No. It was CO because they had CO in December that year, I believe.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I want you to know. Oh, I'm gonna sound like such a dweeb, but like when they showed off the trailer for the rollback, bro, I got so emotional. I was like, there's just no way that they're
Bro,
Nah,
giving us this shit.
I fell to my knees.
Oh, yo,
I actually could not believe what I was seeing.
nah, it's crazy. It's definitely crazy. Like, cause I think that was about around the time when I was pushing for Dragon Ball to
Mm-hmm.
get rollback for quite a while, and we had that whole movement about giving older games rollback and stuff, and like seeing it was just crazy, like seeing them actually do it. Because they didn't mention anything. There were no hints, nothing, and then just out of the blue, you get rollback, and you get rollback, and you get rollback, and then eventually down the line, we got it for Dragon Ball, even though it's still not here.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was crazy. Like a lot of games were just getting it, and everyone was just kind of like, "Is this a fever dream? Like, what is going on?" It was crazy.
yeah, that
So
shit was insane. And I think around that time too was when a bunch of Dragon Ball heads were getting into like BlazBlue, right?
mhm.
Yeah, there's a
I
lot
remember
of Dragon Ball players trying Blaze.
I remember like playing Parsec with like Mizi and shit like that.
I think
That shit was quite good.
what's his name? Iced also got into BlazBlue around that time, and he's still playing, and he's a very very good player now. He plays Nine and Naruto, so yeah, it was a nice transition for a lot of players. Speaking of Iced going from Dragon Ball to BlazBlue, uh, I asked earlier what it was like going from Dragon Ball to more traditional fighters. So after Dragon Ball, I tried BlazBlue. I tried a little bit of Guilty Gear, but not that much. I tried Skullgirls, and I also tried Mortal Kombat. Um, so what was it like? It was refreshing to. I mean, I mentioned it again today on Twitter about modern fighting games and like neutral skip mechanics, and it was refreshing to like. I guess refreshing, but also like I guess getting hit with reality with the whole like you can't just jump at someone or homing dash to someone and get in that way, use an assist and whatnot. Even Marvel, you couldn't do that in those kind of games. You really had to play neutral. But I think that was the biggest thing for me. Neutral and navigating, getting to my opponent. But then also getting to my opponent in a way that I could then enforce pressure. Because obviously, in BlazBlue, even if you get to touch your opponent, if depending on the situation, if you both land and they're at a space where they can just bury you out for free, especially with Jin, it's really hard to like get a game plan going. So you kind of need to not just play neutral to like touch your opponent, but play neutral to turn touching your opponent into either pressure or a combo or whatever. So I think that was the biggest thing going from Dragon Ball to BlazBlue. But also a good I guess something that was nice was on the defensive side. I didn't have to worry about something like Super Dash as much. So it was I mean, it's still an experience, you know. There's more defensive interactions that I can actually do to like make my opponent not autopilot their pressure. You know, we made it. There was a meme in the London community about BlazBlue. Oh, sorry, not BlazBlue. About Dragon Ball. Cool. We called it active defense, which was like doing stuff on defense, while it was more like just reflecting and mashing and shit. Oh shit. Oh, sorry again. But yeah. But like in BlazBlue, like you could actually be active on defense with like IBB and IB and barrier. So there's actually you actually have options in a block string that you know can I guess turn the tides and like you actually interact on defense essentially. Whereas in Dragon Ball it was like are you gonna guard cancel or not? Like that's basically it. So yeah, it was I'd say it was a lot of information overload coming from a game like Dragon Ball to a game like BlazBlue essentially. But I definitely obviously enjoy BlazBlue a lot more. I think there's more depth to it. Not to slander Dragon Ball or anything, but I think the direction that it took, which I've mentioned before, from season 2 to season 3 and season 4, just wasn't what I enjoyed about Dragon Ball in the first place as well. But also rollback and delay-based netcode also made a big difference. So, and I guess segueing into the actual topic of discussion today, what BlazBlue players should do as newcomers to actually improve as BlazBlue players and not just fighting game players. Obviously, I mentioned neutral skips, the active defense and stuff, but there's a lot to BlazBlue. System mechanics like overdrive, counter assault, tech chasing, rolling backwards, rolling forwards, emergency tech, delayed emergency tech, quick rise, and barrier, of course, and IB. So dealing with all of that as a new player, and on top of that, something I forgot to mention as well, actual matchups where matchups actually feel important. Like this character versus this character is like great for me or bad for me. Whereas in Dragon Ball, there was maybe 2 of those. Like the only one that comes to mind is really Broly versus Frieza. Like that was a terrible matchup for Frieza for a very, very long time. But other than that, it's like, does my character have a DP or not? Whereas in BlazBlue, it's like, yeah, my character has a DP, but it either doesn't go far enough, or it goes really high, or it's really slow. So it's like there's so much more depth and character to character interactions and player to player interactions. Like it's on 2 levels essentially. Whereas with Dragon Ball, it was just player to player, not character to character. So I think that is like a really big part of coming to BlazBlue and being a newcomer to BlazBlue, and all those factors are what I wanted to talk about today, and what you guys think a new BlazBlue player should focus on, I guess, in order, sort of like a hierarchy, like, okay, start here, next level here, because obviously you have this kind of idea of combos where it's like, okay, let me start with a light starter, okay, this works for here, okay, what if I get a medium starter or a heavy starter or a counter starter? So you kind of work your way up like that. But with BlazBlue and the system mechanics, I wanted to get your guys' thoughts on what you think someone should do as a new player, what kind of mechanics they should be looking to actually understand, like on day 1 or week 1 or month 1, and then what kind of things they should build on as fighting game as BlazBlue players essentially. So only if you want to go first, or I guess you put your like 2 thoughts on it, and I'll go.
No, you can go first. You can go first.
I was gonna say, if you want to like bounce off, if you want to like bounce off, because I might like miss some shit, right? Or if you're trying to add something, like I'm down. I think like if you're trying to go from a beginner to more of a mid level, right? When it comes to BlazBlue, and we're talking about in the grand scope of like competition, right? Like people who are entering tournaments and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, I would say anyone that wants to be like a competent player, essentially.
Okay, I think you want to start focusing on managing your defensive options, right? Like making sure that you are properly managing your burst, right? I think it goes very understated sometimes how important burst management is in a game like this.
Hmm.
Um, you want to burst sometimes, but a lot of your offense
Oh,
drive usage.
I think you cut out a little bit there. Do you want to repeat that from when you
Oh,
said?
sorry.
That's all good, it's all good. From when you said a lot of your offense.
A lot of your offense is going to be based around your opponent's burst usage,
Hmm.
right? Um, it's very much dictated by, how does my opponent use overdrive, right? How do they burst? What are they looking for? You know what I mean? And
Hmm.
this goes into the other, I mean, the main keys that I had in mind were burst, right? You wanna figure out and improve on learning how to burst and manage that resource, right? You want to focus on learning how to barrier and IB, right? And what that means for your character and what that means for your opponent.
Hmm.
And I think the final one would be learning to OS, even on a smaller scale. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, like hit stop OS and
Also,
stuff, right?
yeah. Well, also, I feel like people people don't realize it, but they already are OSing at like the most basic level. Like fuzzy mashing is a form of like option selecting.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, so if it's if it's not a true block string, nothing comes out right. But if it's not a true block string or a frame trap, frame trap is the thing that stops fuzzy mashing. But if it's if it's just not like a true frame trap, you'll win the situation. You get counter hit.
Yeah.
But we
Yeah.
go ahead.
I guess I mean more like, Throw Tech OS,
Okay, okay,
you
okay,
like
okay.
Overdrive OS, stuff like that.
Hmm.
Like just
Hmm.
building those smaller habits. Like like I'd say for someone who's trying to work towards a mid level, working towards fuzzy jumping and Throw Tech OS will get you like really far, honestly.
Hmm. I think actually Throtech OS is actually like that's one of the first things I would teach if someone came to me as a new player today and said, "Hey, I want to learn BlazBlue. Where do I start?" I would say, "All right, pick your character. Like what kind of character you want to play. Blah blah blah. You pick your character. Learn some combos. Learn how to I guess navigate neutral a little bit. And the first defensive thing I'd say is barrier OS on well I guess Throtech barrier OS. Like that is
Mhm.
really important on a defensive level and an offensive level. Like how to do barrier OS and how to beat it as well with TRM, right? I
Yeah.
think a lot of new players don't like. It's actually insane how often a new player will ask, "How what is TRM or how does TRM work?" Like no one. I don't know if I feel like the game does have a section on it in the tutorial, but it just confuses everyone. So yeah, that is like one of the most important things. And like you said as well, Oni, I think burst management. I remember bursting on every like first combo when I first started playing, and now looking back on it, I'm like that is just a terrible thing to do in 99% of cases. There are characters where if they hit you once, yeah, you're done. Like it's better to just burst, like ASAP if they get a really strong fatal counter on you, or if their I guess game plan or um, gameplay loop is like one touch and then it's your turn's over. Your turn could be over like completely. But even then, like you said, overdrive on defense can be very very useful to turn the tides, right? Um,
Hmm.
so yeah, those two things like throw tech OS, how to beat it and how to do it, um, and also burst management. I think are two really important parts of a beginner's, I guess, journey to like becoming a competent player um, in BlazBlue. On the offensive side,
Before we start that, I
I'll
just
go
have a
ahead.
confession to make.
Uh huh.
I I didn't start doing the throw tech OS until like a month ago.
Oh, bro, that's weird.
No way, bro.
I
I
don't.
didn't. I always heard somebody talk about. I'm like, what is that?
Nah, there's no
like
way,
automatically
Seven.
stop throws or something. Like, what am I doing here? And I
Seven.
had to like, I just asked somebody this. I was like, bro, what is the throw tech OS? And they're like, what are you talking about? I was like, yeah, what is it? Like, what's the inputs for it?
Nah,
And then
you're capping, bro. There's no
and then
way.
I actually went and did it. I was like, this changes everything.
No way,
This changes
Are you being
everything.
serious?
bro.
Seven, I got a confession too, bro.
What's up,
I know
bro?
that shit. I don't use it, bro. I just
Yeah,
play.
No, no. To me,
I remember.
wait, you guys are. Alright,
Yeah.
I have the two wrong people on this podcast, bro. What do you mean?
I remember. I remember. I was fighting Jiv, and like you already know, Naruto just sticks to you. He doesn't leave. So like the throw game with him is like absurd. And I'm sitting here like, yo, there's got to be a better way to deal with these throws. So like I would like go back and look at the replay and be like, yo, how do I just leave? How can I get out of the situation? I just had no idea how to leave the situation. But then like once like months later, once somebody told me about how to do the OS, that's when I realized like, wait, that means this applies to that situation so much better. Because then I can eliminate the throw option now. Unless he like actually like TRM set up.
Yeah.
That's that. Yeah, that was a crazy revelation,
Bro, Seven,
God.
how long you been playing BlazBlue again, bro?
God, yeah, it's been a while.
No way. That is actually crazy to me. Well, there you go, guys. You know what? What I said about...
I've never been like an option to like heavy like.
No, I get you.
Yeah, for like I played Street Fighter 4, but like that was like option select galore. I
Yeah.
only knew like one option select in there, but that's it. Other than that, I just played the game.
Well,
I generally like all OS sometimes. I'll usually do like throw tech OS, but with overdrive, right? But most of the time, I handle my defense in a way where I don't always need to throw OS. You know, I very much trust in my like intuition and understanding my opponent's like pressure structure and what they're looking for. Now, it doesn't mean that sometimes, you know, I get thrown, yeah, but usually, you know, I tech. You know what I
yeah.
mean? You can catch me if you really hard throw bait me, you'll see I stand tech. So
Yeah, there's actually a lot of people that stand tech, and I think it's important to actually switch up which one you do, because the way people, how do I say this? The way people bait barrier tech or TRM or whatever is kind of like rock paper scissors with baiting, throw, like a actual throw tech. So like if I know someone throw techs, I'll dash forward and I'll do like a jump, and then I'll just J2C them as Jin. But if I know the barrier tech, then obviously I'm gonna TRM them, right? But the hardest people to like fight are the ones that switch up. So I try to switch up quite often. Sometimes I'll just wake up throw because I know they're gonna try and wait for a barrier or whatever. So you kind of just need to like, it's something you need to mix up as well. It's not just always do barrier OS, I think, at least. But yeah, maybe I'm kind of degenerate. So
no, yeah. While I don't personally do the throw tech OS too much, it's very important to have in your game plan. It also lets the mental stack kind of flow a little bit easier. You know what I mean? By doing throw tech OS, you don't really have to worry about throws at all. And then when you start incorporating that, I mean, this is more advanced stuff, but when you start adding like, you know, throw tech OSing, but you're also doing a fuzzy jump. You know what I mean?
yeah,
At the same time, you know, when you start doing that kind of stuff, it simplifies the game down on a much more personal level with the person that you're fighting.
yeah, 100%.
Don't be hard headed. Like word of advice that I ask, don't be hard headed and just, you know, if you're beating the game, learn how to throw tech OS. Learn the
Yeah,
proper applications for it. You know,
Don't rely on it though.
yeah, don't
don't
rely
really
on
rely
it.
on it.
I think what we might do as well is like maybe a top 10 things to do or cover as a new player, say. So number one, I think I actually think this is the most important thing, like overall, would be burst and overdrive usage. I think that, well, I guess it does depend on your character as well. Not all overdrives are created equal. That is a definite fact. So understanding which overdrives are useful and which overdrives aren't as useful can help you on defense and neutral and conversion and everything. But yeah, so I just realized I'm not streaming for you guys. Let me quickly do that, and you guys can. Yeah, this is fun. Okay. So
like, just to touch on it just a little bit more before we move on, the reason why it's so important is because a lot of this game's like BS is taken down a little bit more when you have overdrive,
Mm-hmm.
right? Once you lose the option to burst or to overdrive OS or to OD raid, all that kind of stuff, um, it feels kind of insane to try to get out of character's pressure, right?
Mm-hmm.
It becomes like 30 times more difficult, and I think that's one of the reasons why a lot of beginners have such a hard time starting. You know?
100%. 100%. Overdrive is literally just like a pause. It's a pause button essentially in a lot of characters' pressure. And it can be useful if you know how to the RPS after it, and in fact, even sometimes you can just straight outright punish certain attempts of pressure, right? So it's very, very useful, and I think a lot of, I mean, maybe not underestimate, but a lot of new players don't even like know or understand when it happens to them. So yeah, definitely a good point. So I guess moving on from, I guess, more defensive things, and I guess actually let's put IB
Barrier and like
IB
IBB.
and
That
barrier.
stuff, honestly, I think although it's like a top 10 things, I'm gonna be quite honest. Those three things are as equal if you are really working towards getting good. It a lot of these things, the first three things, defense is so important in this game. It's not really funny, right?
Yeah,
You will progress in your play a lot more if you apply, you know, proper application of these like concepts. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah. I get what you're saying. Um, so and I guess let's talk a bit more about offense as well. The thing is, offense obviously it changes so much depending on your character. But as someone who plays someone with an unreactable overhead, I don't like. It's really hard for me to be like to give advice on offense because everyone's always scared of the overhead. So I just have to do 6A or 2B. But when I was playing Ragnar, and maybe I guess the other characters as well, maybe it would be better for Oni to talk about this, and Seven as a Hakumen player as well. Well, actually, you also have an unwritable overhead, but his is a bit different circumstantially, right?
Yeah, the offensive structure between those two characters are like between like our two characters is definitely different.
Yeah. So, Carmen, let's talk about characters without unreactable stuff for now, or like on surface level.
I mean, honestly, what's it called? I think Seven could definitely speak the same when it comes to like strike throw stuff with Azrael. It's
Hmm.
like especially I find Ragnar and Azrael stuff to be a little similar sometimes when it comes to things, except Azrael kind of forces more if you get what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, he forces more due to like the implicit fear of what happens if he hits you for weak point.
Yeah.
So certain people, if they have like mental fortitude where they have confidence that they'll be fine, that they can react to like whatever he does, yeah, that's fine, right? But for people that don't have that mental fortitude and they're just worried about the consequences of if they don't block correctly, that's like pretty much when he's basically at his strongest. Because if I have a high weak point on you and you don't block it, you're probably taking three,
Mm,
probably somewhere near
4K.
4K.
Yeah.
Same with a low. If I hit you with a low, you're probably taking 3.5, maybe 4K if I do like correct routing and
Shit,
Yeah.
God forbid you get counter hit, bro. You're done.
yeah,
Yeah.
if you get counter hit, you're done. You're done because
And
now the weak point is applied and it's like
and the thing is, with with Azrael as well, most of his combo routes apply a weak point at the end of the combo as well, right? So
Correct.
you're going from no weak points to a weak point, and then getting comboed from that weak point, but then also putting the same weak point on you again. So it's not fun. It's not fun. He can be a very snowbally character. So
and he has routes to where he can put on both of those.
both of them, yeah, exactly. So it's rough, but so yeah, structuring your offense, obviously, like I said, with every character, it does change. But what kind of things do you think people should look for or should aim for when trying to structure their offense, depending on what kind of character they're playing? Let's say something on like a bit more conditioning based, like Ragnar or something.
if you're playing more of a strike throw kind of character, I mean every character has strike throw, duh, right? But
Right.
if you're playing something more akin to like Ragna, you're going to want to understand how to deal with number one, two, and three that we have on the list to a T, right?
Hmm.
Um, a lot of Ragnar stuff comes down to player versus player interactions
Hmm.
and taking advantage of that a lot. Like a lot. Ragnar is really good at taking advantage. Jin is amazing at this too, right? But Ragnar has really good tools in taking advantage of, my opponent's defensive habits and, you know, capitalizing off of it, right?
Yeah.
Like, how does this person instant block, right? When do they decide to use barrier? How do they throw tech? You know, like how do they decide to use their overdrive? Do they fuzzy jump? Where do
Hmm.
they mash? Stuff like that.
Mhm.
Um, with Ragna, it's a lot more clear cut because again, you're kind of just paying attention to what your opponent is doing and countering that before it happens or after. You know.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think again similarly to Jin, but kind of a slightly different is like I like for Jin, I don't really care how my opponent does barrier because I'm either gonna get pushed out or I'm just gonna 5B them and just pull them in and just use the barrier meter up. It doesn't really matter to me.
Mhm.
But what does matter to me is when they decide to block 6A, like the timing, um, the situation. Because a lot of people they just won't block 6A on wake up, but they'll block it after every ice reset or ice
Yeah.
restand, I should say. So that's where we're talking about where it's like different between your characters. Like what both of us are paying attention to our opponent's defense, but we're looking for different things. As Jin, I'm looking for when my opponent decides to mash and when they decide to block high. Like those are the really
Mhm.
two important things for me as a Jin player, because of my tool set.
Uh huh. It's not too relatively different. I'm gonna be honest between
Hmm.
Ragna and Jin. The only difference is that Jin has a lot more ways to handle your opponent's defense,
Yeah,
especially in CF.
Mhm.
It's like Ragnar has good tools to do it. Again, Jin has amazing tools to do it.
yeah,
While maybe you don't look for your opponent's like barrier habits, once you do start applying that, you'll notice that it's like, damn, I really got him locked down, and
yeah,
with
yeah,
not a lot of like risk. You know what I mean?
yeah, for sure. Another thing is that.
It's
Oh, go
sorry,
ahead.
go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say another thing, like when if you notice your opponent's barring a lot, like we said earlier, like TRMs and just throwing, even just throwing in general. There's a lot of people who I just throw just because their mind is always on holding the barrier button, and if they're holding the barrier button, 9 times out of 10 they're not thinking to tech. They're trying to push you away. So,
Mhm.
uh, yeah, paying attention to your opponent's defense as well. I like that is important. For Hakuman slash Azrael, I guess we talked about having like the weak points and like being really strong with implicit um, danger of the overhead and stuff. But other than that, like how do you approach your opponent's defense as a Hakuman instead of Azrael player?
So I for Azrael and Hakumen, they're not necessarily too different in terms of how they structure their offense. I do agree with Oni in the fact that they do have a similarity, and that is conditioning.
Hmm.
Because Jin kind of has like a much easier time with putting somebody in check compared to Ragnar, just due
Hmm.
to the fact that like he has everything to just kind of like stick to you, or he could spend a quarter of a bar to just
Yeah,
make you sit there.
yeah, yeah,
Whereas like Ragnar has very good staggers. You have 2A, you have with 2C, you know,
yeah,
and but the main issue is he still has trouble against barrier because the main thing to keep him in is either dead spike or blood slice, which both have two very glaring weaknesses. Dead
yeah,
spike, instant block. If he dashes up, he loses his turn, he has to block. If he sits there, neutral is reset, or you can actually just go approach him if you want to. You know, Blood Scythe is you anti him and just kill him.
Yeah,
because he only has 10k health. He can't really take hits.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah, so they both fall in the same line of like conditioning somebody. So for Azrael, his conditioning is a bit more strict because of the fact that he doesn't really get that many block strings like that. He only gets maybe a block string, maybe half a block string if they're barriering. And if they're doing instant barrier blocking, he has to just do something. He won't stick to them.
Right.
And that's where his main weakness will lie, is that if he wants to stick to them, he has to overcommit somewhere. He has to overcommit somewhere, or he has to like give up pressure, but he has to do it in like a quick manner. So, you know, if he banks on 5D hitting, if that 5D doesn't hit, his turn is over. If 2D hits, but they instant block it, it's like his turn is still over. But you know, I'm probably gonna match anyways. Yeah. 5A having that 5A being the highest priority jab in the game is a blessing.
Yeah.
But yeah, structuring offense with characters that can't really stick to you or have to overextend with their pressure, it starts against like more competent players. It starts becoming more of a player versus player situation because you can't autopilot what you do to somebody. So if I see somebody just keeps emergency teching over and over and over again, I'm just gonna keep doing 5D or 2D because at that point they can't really react to it, or just cross up Growler. But if there's somebody that knows Azrael's weakness, which is delaying your timings or your wake up timings, or just changing them in general, or just doing barrier the whole time, it becomes a lot more difficult to do that. So now I have to start applying different types of conditioning steps. So maybe if I do, 2A, walk up 2A, or just like 5A and then do something else, I can do something like that. But I can't just keep doing block strings against him because he's a bit straightforward what he can do to hit how his Gatlings are limited. Same with Hakumen, but it's not as immediately rewarding as Azrael. Like if Azrael has a weak point and one of them joints pop, it's you know what time it is.
Yeah.
But if Hakumen's a bit weird because A, he has to have the meter to do it, and B, I think how would I put this? His 6B is good, but it's not like you're about to explode off of this. I mean, unless the counter hits.
Yeah.
And then
go ahead.
It's
like something you establish and set up for success.
For steps. Yeah. Because you have like his actual metered overhead, which is going to nuke you.
Yeah.
Yeah, but usually that's you can react to that.
Yeah.
It's not as big of a threat because you're looking at Hakumen's other options of what he can do. And if you barrier him out, he can't at that point he can't do like that good low option he has, which is 236B. So you really only have to look for the metered overhead.
Yeah, it's a situational thing because he can only do it like 3 Megatomas, right? So
yeah.
And if your defense is good and you're making him use if you're making him use Megatomas on 214A instead, then you wouldn't really have to worry too much about it.
Yeah, but his pressure or his offense isn't really about like mix up heavy. It's more so conditioning because he does have a shimmy option with 3 bars. If you're able to Tiger Knee
Tsubaki, right?
Call it. Yeah, if you're able to Tiger Knee Tsubaki, it's great. But he's not really a mix up heavy character. He's more of just like getting that hit and profiting off of that with like a slight strike throw situation.
Yeah.
Yeah, he usually gets all of his damage from neutral because Inma is a great tool.
Yeah. That's great is an understatement. That is so annoying.
Yeah.
I think it's so annoying. Speaking of, you mentioned something about varying tech timings and having to condition someone. I think that is also actually very good. Understanding what hard gives you a hard knockdown in this game is something that I see new players struggle with every time. Oh, I keep rolling. How do I stop rolling? This, that. Every time. The number one tip I try to give newer players as well. If you're trying to learn the game, you want to like not get hit on Oki and stuff as much. Tech by holding up back, you will never get roll. The reason why a lot of new players are getting roll is because they're holding down back and tech. Now, if someone soft knockdowns you, for example, with like Jin 3C into DP, you're gonna immediately tech. But if you get hard knockdown with Ice Car follow up, you're gonna get a roll. The number of players that I've played that just don't know this is like crazy. This is like, I guess it's not really, it's an important thing, but it's so small that like I'm gonna put it low on the list if we do get to 10. But yeah, just understand that like that some moves in this game do give you a hard knockdown, and in this game that means that you can't emergency tech, right? So to avoid rolling, like hold up back and tech, and you can also hold barrier as well if you want to. But I mean, you can also just tech and then react to the situation. And then also delaying your emergency tech. This is something that I had a really big problem with against 9 especially, and a lot of set play characters. Kokonoi as well is also one that you need to vary your tech options, because you're not always going to get out because of it, but you may be able to at least avoid one mix-up because of it if you're consistently changing your wake-up timings against someone like Kokonoi. So it's really hard to like explain visually without like an example, which maybe I will get to at some point in the future. But just for anyone who's new and watching this, for just two points to take away from this point about tech timings and options. Sometimes just delay your tech. Not against every character, because I know Azrael has setups where he will just continue to combo you for like another 1k damage and then put a waypoint on you. So not against every character. What'd you say, Oni?
Yeah, you don't want fucking, oh my bad. You don't want both weak points on you, and then you're sitting there, you're gonna mash fatal counter.
Yeah.
Chaotic does a combo music video, combo on you, and you're like
he'll just kill you. Like I'll probably kill you, but it'll be quick. But he'll do like the most methodical combo route he can find, and just do it that way.
Shout out to Dante Redgrave and Chaotic, the Azrael goats.
Yeah, those two are absurd.
So yeah, maybe against Azrael, don't delay tech too much, but in general, especially against set play characters, like delaying your tech is very useful, and understanding, like, so this might be a weird thing to say, but do the bad options against. I don't know if this is good advice, but because I like to play the player in front of me, I try to play the player in front of me, right? And if the player in front of you isn't covering forward roll while you're in the corner, do the forward roll. Don't be like, what you saying, Seven?
So I think one piece of advice, because what you're saying isn't exactly wrong. I guess the best way to word it is nothing is really a bad choice until like your opponent proves it is a bad choice.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. So if front roll works, it's not a bad choice. That's a great choice because he doesn't know how to get it. But if he catches the bad roll, if he catches the front roll, then yeah, it's probably a bad choice. You should probably you should probably reconsider if you want to keep doing that against him or not. So like when you mentioned like delay tech against Azrael, Azrael's a weird one, because if you just neutral tech, that's a dangerous situation to be, because you're waking up into an immediate type of mix up, right? But at the same time, if I realize that you're delay teching a lot, I'm just gonna 2A and pick you back up. However, if you realize that I'm looking for delay tech and you start emergency teching again, now that I did a 2A, there's really no mix up. All I can do at that point is just 5B to make sure you sit there.
Yeah, exactly.
You eliminate the mix up pretty much. So it's never really a bad choice until the player proves that's a bad choice.
Yeah, you need to
across like all fighting games, you want to keep that in your mind.
Yeah, so just vary your tech timings and your tech options. Like if you're rolling, if you're quick rising as well, and if you're back rising, like really keep in mind, because it can get overwhelming. You're always thinking about, is he going to overhead me? Is he going to low me? Is he going to cross up? But if you can vary your tech timings enough to the point where your opponent has to think as much as you do, that is going to alleviate some of the pressure, right? So just understand that as a new player. Even just practice it. Like just practice varying your tech timings. That is also important. What else is there that I'm thinking as coming? I guess we can talk about combos as well. How to, because I actually got this. I actually got a question literally 5 minutes before, 5-10 minutes before we started a podcast from someone in the EU Discord talking about where to start with combos, and how to progress with combos. And it was funny because they actually play Kokonoi, which I also recently picked up. So I was able to answer that question from my perspective of what I did. So with combos, I would always firstly recommend playing the mission mode of the character you want to play. Or the challenge mode, I think it's called in this game. So firstly, always do the challenge mode because that will teach you basic... The mission mode is really good. It goes through like the basic combo theory and importance of like the BNBs of your character. It's going to give you the bone structure essentially, or the foundation level of the character's combo theory in that. And then once you're comfortable with that, you don't have to complete it because a lot of them are a bit harder, and with time you'll be able to go back and complete them like I did with Jin, and I'm doing Kokonoi now. But mission mode, then head to the wiki for your character. Most characters will have at least like most combos done. For at least all the characters that I've seen have a good combo section on the wiki. I'll link that down below. But yeah, mission mode, then wiki, and then so I go for, when I go to the wiki, I go for common starters. So depending on the kind of character you're playing, you're gonna open up characters in a certain way, right? So with Jin, obviously that's 6A and then 2B. So learning what kind of conversions you want to do for those mid-screen and in the corner. And then like a frame trap option, what kind of combo you want to go after, like a counter hit frame trap. And then a punish option, so like punishing DPs. So like a counter hit for Jin, that would be like a counter hit 5C, or a fatal counter 2-2C, and then a throw combo. I think those 5 or 6 combos. Oh, and an air conversion as well. Those 5 or 6 combos, like to start with, are very, very good to like help you gain combo theory. Because combo theory is like, I've only recently started like having an appreciation for like combo theory, but it's really something you can only really learn hands-on, right? Like you can teach people all the combos in the world, but if they don't, it's kind of like maths, which is such a weird analogy because my mom was teaching math earlier today. But like, you can show someone the answer, like you can show someone a combo, but if they don't understand how the buttons work to get that combo to work, they're not gonna be able to do a combo in a real match that doesn't start from the same starter, if that makes sense. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like if you just show someone the answer to a math question, they're not going to be able to do a similar question. So try and understand combo theory via like doing the skeleton, the mission mode, then do certain starters in from the wiki, and then just play around with it. Like do those first 5 or 6 common starters, throw, air conversion, counter / fatal counter, and frame trap essentially, and then just work your way up. You don't have to do the most optimal combo to start with. Just something like basic will help, and then eventually just start doing more damage and more damage and more damage. And some characters will have specific routing, like Kokonoi, to get to a end game or to get to a win condition, right? Like Kokonoi obviously has the resets, right? So understanding that for Kokonoi, you need to understand, and Jin a bit actually. Sometimes you want to go to ice reset, sometimes you want to go to just combo like knockdown, right? So understanding what your character's win condition is as well for combos, if it's going to a reset or if it's going to damage, because some characters have different damage routing than they do what's the word, positional routing or situation routing essentially. So I guess Seven, what do you think, like when it comes to like combos, how someone should like structure their learning in that sense?
When it comes to learning combos for characters, I feel like at this point in the game's life, there's more than enough resources to just figure out what you want to do. For example, you have Dust Loop that has like certain characters' combo routes already on there. You have, you have a bunch of different videos that you can choose from. You also have the unfortunate choice of going in the character discords. If it really gets to that point, if it really gets to that point, you got to go into character discords. I'm gonna tell you right now, keep your words to a minimum, keep your interactions to a minimum. Just have somebody point you to where the combos are at. If you can't find them, that's it. Just get what you need
And
and
get out.
just
Skedaddle.
get out.
Seven, you're not trying to talk to anybody in the Azure?
No, they're cool in there. They're fine. It's just nah. It's not for me, man. They're very distinct individuals in there, and they're just not for me. That's just what it is. That's just what it is.
I love the professional.
Yeah, they're just not for me.
They're individuals.
Yeah, I get the information I need. I appreciate them and bless them for giving me that piece of information that they so happen to pin or made a doc for it. But I got what I needed. It's my time. I'm out. So yeah, if you need to go in character discords, hopefully they're good individuals. Get the information, talk to them a little bit, then dip. But yeah, you got plenty of resources now. Just pretty much look around. And I believe if you want me to, I believe I can find the link that has all the BlazBlue character discords.
Okay, yeah.
So if people need another resource, they can just go there.
Yeah. Sure, we'll do. Yeah. I'll put that in the description of the video.
Yeah, but in terms of now once you find the combos, you probably shouldn't learn all of them, because at that point you're gonna fry your brain.
Yeah.
You should learn like the ones that are kind of like staple, or the ones that you can do. So you find your mid screen one, you find your corner one, you find your counter hit one, you find your counter hit one, you find your fatal one, and
your overdrive.
Yeah, your overdrive one, and that's pretty much it. You learn like 6 routes, and you should be straight.
Yeah, I actually think
once you start getting used to that character, then you can start branching off.
Yeah.
Once you learn those routes, there's gonna come situations where it's like, oh damn, maybe if I knew a route where I dropped a meter more in this way, then I would have killed, or I could have gotten better Oki or something like that. But you want to start off very, very slowly and very small, especially when it comes to combos, especially in a game like this, because
there's so many different variations.
Yeah, these combos are relatively long for a beginner trying to get more deeper into a fighting game. So by you burning yourself that easily, you're not going to have enough brain power to understand, the system mechanics, or working towards, neutral and stuff like that.
Yeah, and like the thing is, because this happens to everybody when they first pick up a character or a game. You're gonna do that combo for a couple hours. You're gonna be learning a lot of combos for maybe an hour or two, maybe 3. And then when you finally get in a match, you're not gonna remember.
You're not gonna do it.
You're not gonna remember anything.
Your brain is gonna just go to mush. You're gonna think about the cake you had last month, and you're not gonna be able to do anything. I promise you.
Anything, son.
Yeah,
when you get back to the lab, you're gonna remember it.
Yeah,
100%. And it just rinse and repeats until you finally start getting. Because that's what's going on with me in Street Fighter 6 right now. There's so many
100%
times I get the hit and I just completely forget what I'm supposed to do. At the end of it.
Yeah,
it's kind of like a trial and error thing.
Because actually, this is 2 more things. Well, I got from this. Actually, I'll write this down as well. So we were talking about. Only mentioned something about looking back and seeing where you could have got more damage. That is very important and goes into watching your games back. If you can, record your games. You can record them in-game, or you can save them in-game and go back and watch them and replicate the situation from a match to deal with either defensive stuff or offensive stuff or combos. That is
a huge thing. That leads like a huge thing.
Yeah.
I think... damn, how much time do we have? Actually get into it.
We do. So we're just about to hit the hour mark. So maybe we want to wrap it up in 10-15 minutes max.
Yeah, that'll probably because I feel like there's a lot of things to talk about, but it's
then I'll touch on it very briefly. Yeah. You want to spend your time practicing efficiently. And that's hard to really understand and wrap your head around. When you're beginning, a lot of the times you want to back out, right? Maybe play for 6-7 hours at a time. But if you focus your sessions down to maybe 2 to 3 hours at the most, and really go through things that you want to improve and practice on, a lot of the information will retain in your head better. Maybe you go
Mm,
into a session going, I want to lab and figure out, my combos to kill or my fatal route counter, my fatal counter routes, and then I want to do that in, in gameplay, right? That's what net play is for. You know what I
Hmm.
mean?
Yeah.
yeah.
But the idea of practicing efficiently is extremely important, especially if you're learning. You know.
Mm,
Hmm. No, definitely. I think that's something that I struggled with when I first started. I was trying to do too much too quickly, and a lot of the stuff that I was trying to do will kind of just come naturally over time. So, like you said, really focus like the important parts essentially. Um, and I think some of the things that you can learn in a match against a person, you can also just practice when you're fighting a computer. Something that actually helped me a lot, which I don't think a lot of people don't do, but fighting the CPU or the AI can really help you with understanding the situations that you're gonna get certain combos and converting those combos. It's
mm,
not. It's obviously not good for like um, sort of reacting to defensive mechanics and dealing with defensive mechanics. 'Cause obviously, you're fighting a CPU, and you need to build it up more as like a player-to-player thing. But for certain things, fighting the CPU can help, like muscle memory, um, situational awareness of like converting into certain combos. So if you're new to the game, I would recommend to like fight CPU. Like change the level obviously depending on how good you are and how much you can deal with. Um, but fight the CPU. It's not like the high thing. But again, if you can't find some games, sometimes the Discord's like moving slow or whatever. This is a Discord fighter essentially, and rank isn't always like popping right now. So yeah, that's an option you have at least to consider. Seven, I don't know if you wanted to say something about watching games back or.
watching games back. It. I'm not gonna hold you when you first start doing it. It's tough because looking at yourself lose is just it's a different feeling because
Yeah.
now you're looking at the mistake you made and you just you kind of gotta live with it. But
Hmm.
Hmm.
I will say it is one of the fastest ways to become like better than you were yesterday
Yeah.
because of the fact that you can see what you did wrong right there, and then you can just either brainstorm what you do in that situation, or you can lab out how to manage that situation.
Hmm.
But if you just kind of like just skip over that and only look at you also have some people that only look at when they win.
Hmm.
There are people out there like that. That's not necessarily bad because you can also find answers there. But losing will
Humble
the
you.
matches where you lose, it not only will it humble you, but it will give you a lot more information than
Yeah, hundred
if you
percent.
if you were like winning.
Like there's
God,
So
that's a whole nother big topic. So
yeah,
yeah.
that's a huge topic.
That's
Well,
more, yeah, that's a bit too
losing
general.
your yeah, losing
yeah,
your
Yeah.
ego. Oh my god.
yeah,
Yeah.
losing your ego is a tough one. It's definitely a tough one, but like that's just something you got to come to terms with. But
In fact,
we're not gonna dive into that.
Yeah.
yeah,
But yeah,
I think we'll just say like make sure like you're playing the game for fun. This is actually something that got pointed out to me recently. But like how much fun you have with the game when you lose is a really good indicator of how good you can actually get at that game, I think.
yeah.
So
I've
go ahead.
definitely seen people where like they'll play the hot game because there's a lot of people playing it, and there's quote unquote a lot of money in the game,
Hmm.
which is very ironic considering like what community we're in, and that's like one of the biggest problems. But I digress. Um, yeah, I'll see them like burn themselves out just from playing the game, and like they'll lose, and I'm like, bro, this game is ass, or this game sucks, but they'll still play it. They'll be saying that. And I'm like, bro, well, if you don't like it, why are you playing it?
Yeah.
And they'll give you the reason, like, because this is what's hot right now. Everybody's playing it. I'm just waiting for the next game to drop. And it's like, yo, it's just
Just
there's
take a
nothing.
break. Just take a
Yeah, there's
break from
no
fighting games,
if
bro.
you look. I don't like to be that guy, but if you're playing the game that you don't like, where if you're playing it for the quote unquote money and or clout, if you're getting kind of washed like this, like I need you to come back to earth and kind of realize you probably might not make it to that money because you don't have the passion or the dedication to like do this.
The skill,
You
the
know?
personality, the
Yeah,
dedication to like get anything out of
because
it. Like, yeah.
yeah, because if you hate something, you're not gonna want to get better at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unless you're
You know,
like a professional, like an actual and I don't mean someone who gets top 8s. I don't mean
yeah.
someone who streams to 20, 30 people or even 100. Like, I mean professional. Like, it's your job. You get paid regularly to do it. You live off that payment. That's what I mean by professional. If you're that level of professionalism, then yes. A lot of people in corporate world are professionals and they hate their job.
Yeah.
But they're getting money. Do you know what I'm saying? So unless you're at that level, like, you don't need to force it. Like, it's not by force. It's not that deep. Like, just wait for the game that you truly enjoy, because you're more likely going to do way better in that game than you do in a game that you don't enjoy. So.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, 100%. Like, unless you're like, as you said, like somebody in corporate or like you're like a League of Legends esports player.
Yeah.
Then yeah, it's not really like what you're talking about isn't exactly there for fighting games. Like I hear you, you know, Capcom just announced the $1 million for first place, but if you don't like the game, you got a lot of people to go through that do like the game. And
Exactly,
put a lot
bro.
of time into it. So
You know, honestly, shoot, I think that's might be the most important thing on that list. You might have to like put it in bold,
Low key,
and put like the font above.
Yeah.
Just make sure you're having fun.
Yeah, because if you're not, you're probably not gonna get better. At least at a faster rate.
Yeah, I think obviously for some people it clicks at different points. For me, it did click pretty quickly, but at the same time, I started playing BlazBlue in 2020. That was the first time I touched the game, and only now in 2023 am I playing it almost every day. But I didn't play it from about 2021 till now. So I played it first 2020. I enjoyed it. I loved it actually. Then I stopped playing it for like 2 years, and now I'm playing it almost every day. So
yeah,
it's different for everyone. It might not click for you day one. It might not click for you week one. It might not click for you month one. It might not click for you year one. But if there's something that's making you not enjoy the game, just take a break. Just stop. Either take a break indefinitely or come back later. Like, something might just click for you at a different point. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because I've seen people who play Blaze who are also like pretty solid at it, but they'll just talk about how much like, you know, game sucks, like I don't even know if they're memeing or not, but like I'll see them just speak negatively on the game, and I'm just sitting here just thinking like, wait, why do we just play a set?
Yeah.
You know, like why are you still asking for games in here? If you just have like, you know, disdain for the game, just if you need to take a break, take a break. Granted, you're great at the game, so it's clear you put a lot of time into it.
Yeah.
But if you just need a break, take the break, because it's clear you don't hate the game.
So
yeah.
You giving bangers for extra.
Yeah. Like, I don't want to go into it too much, but you get the general idea.
I guess that's more. Those discussions are more for like. I guess when we get to like the higher levels of not only skill level but also commitment to the game. I think for now, for the beginners, I think this is a pretty solid list. So we've got enjoy the game. Obviously, that's the number one and most important thing for any, not even just fighting games, any video game or any activity. Like, enjoy what you're doing, and if you're not, take a short break, take a long break. You know, whatever you need to do. But try and enjoy it as much as you can, because your enjoyment is going to be have a direct correlation with how much effort you want to put it into the game and how tired you get, depending on how much effort you put in. Next thing. Go ahead.
One thing to note on that taking a break topic. So if you're just getting like washed for a while and you don't necessarily know what direction to go into how to improve, taking a break will more often not help, because a lot of times when you come back to the game, you're gonna have somewhat of a like changed perspective. So you're gonna be playing a little differently than you were previously. So right now I'm like on a slight break from Blaze, obviously because, you know, Street Fighter 6 came out and I want to put time into that. But I'm pretty sure when I come back to that game, I'm going to be playing a little differently.
Yeah,
and it might be for the better, it might be for the worse, but I'll be learning something new.
Yeah,
something will change. So definitely consider taking a break if you're stuck.
Oh man, and another thing is that I think you should probably add to the list is Seven kind of touched on this a little bit, but I'm gonna say the opposite. You want to interact with the community that you have closest to you, right?
Oh
I
yeah,
agree with that, but
It very much
okay.
it very much depends. It very
It
much
varies.
depends.
It varies. It varies.
But
It varies.
but if like let if there's something you don't maybe understand about the game or a character, right? Um, sometimes if the best bet is asking somebody. There's legacy skill. People have been playing this
Hmm.
game for about 7, 8, 9 years. CF2, right?
Yeah.
We've been playing this game for like almost 7 years now, right? Um, do not be afraid to just ask somebody how things work,
yeah.
and the counterplay to that. Obviously, you want to pick and choose who you communicate with and talk to.
And what
But
about as well? Some
yeah,
players, it's really good. It's really good to like talk to them about the game, and some players you don't want to talk to them at all. And some players you're
yeah,
good to talk to about not just the game but other stuff as well, like actually
exactly.
make actual friends. So just pick and choose, and like it's almost like paying attention to your opponent's defense, but just paying attention to your opponent's like I guess character, like as in actual
Hmm.
personal character, like what kind of person they are. So
Hmm.
alright, so yeah, just try and build a small community and interact with them as well. And when it comes to actual in-game meta stuff, burst and overdrive usage. Try to, I guess, even at the start of the game, try to like use burst, I guess, a bit more on the lesser side, and actually think about why you're using burst at the very least, and consider using, overdrive as a defensive mechanic, as a defensive tool as well. OS knowledge and applications. You can ask any of us about any OSs. I don't know if there's like a whole video of all the BlazBlue OSs out there, but there's definitely there is. Okay, so yeah, I'll try and link that in the description. If not, just hassle me in the comments and I'll put it down eventually. Make use of IBB, IB, and barrier. Try to as much as possible. Also, remember that it changes on character to character. Not every character you want to IBB. Sometimes you just want to IB them, or sometimes you do want to IBB them. So just be careful of that. Watch your games back as much as possible. Just even if you can get someone else to watch your games back as well, that is also very very useful. But obviously not everyone could do that because not everyone can record and upload. So, but as much as you can, I guess reflect on your games at least. Pay attention to your opponent's defense, like we said, with IBB, IB, and barrier being so useful as a defensive tool. Try and understand how to beat that, what options beat that. If you can beat them with system mechanics, or if you have to beat them with player interactions, jumping at certain points, baiting jumps, counter hitting with certain moves to discourage certain button presses and whatnot, sort of thing. Vary your tech timings, like we said, with certain setup characters, set play characters. You don't want to tech immediately. Sometimes you want to roll if your opponent isn't covering it. So try and change up your tech options. Don't always do the same thing. And sometimes the bad thing is the good thing that will turn the game around for you. And second to last, structure your combo learning. Don't rush I promise you, the first combo you learn in training mode, the first time you pick up a character, you're not going to land it the first time you play them in the actual match. So don't rush. Try and understand the combo theory rather than learning combos like just to do in a match. Just try and understand what your character wants to do with a combo, right? So Jin wants to get you into a freeze and then restand you, so understand the routing for that. Or he wants to just pump out, or he wants to just pump out damage on you and just give you like 4k, 4.5k, depending on the starter in the situation, right? So understand the routing for both of those. And also, if you can, if you're very, very beginning to game, start fighting the CPU will help, I promise you. It puts pressure off you as well, because some people do have like gameplay anxiety or social anxiety when it comes to like performing for people, I guess, in terms of like facing, like posing a challenge. I see a lot of people always apologize for like not being good enough to like play them, but like don't worry about that. But if it is a problem for you, then fight the CPU and build up some confidence there. Just understand that some things you can practice against CPU, like their combos and setups and stuff, but some things you can't, like player to player interactions and like different timings of how different people like to defend and how people like to play neutral and stuff. So that's, I guess, our list. Obviously we could go on forever, but the podcast is going to be so long. But thank you to Oni and Seven for helping me out.
One more thing.
Oh, go ahead.
If you want deeper learning, if you want something a little more in depth, something that you'll continuously come back to, SKD has both offensive and defensive guides on BlazBlue Central Fiction on his channel.
Yeah.
They are some of the best.
Very good.
They are the best resources. It's very hard to understand, and it will take multiple watch throughs. I've watched it for years now, and every time I come back, I have a different understanding of what I need to do. Please go and check those out.
Yeah.
Those are probably the best from one of the best players that this game has ever seen.
Yeah, I'm gonna link that in the description. That's actually a very good video. See, that defensive video really helped me. I mean, it's still helping me. Obviously, it's not a one-time watch, like you said. Ideally, you watch it a couple of times. Every time you feel like your defense is lacking in a certain area, because you'll pick up one thing from the video, but you won't pick up another thing. But then once you sort of understood that first thing, once you go back and rewatch it, you'll be like, okay, I understand this first thing now. What's the second thing he's talking about? How can I apply that now? That's something I need to apply to my gameplay now. So, yeah, very, very good videos, and I also would recommend those. I'll put those in the description as well. So, and we'll also put the link for all the character discourse as well, as Seven said. So, thank you, Oni and Seven. I'll let you guys go now. You can hop on that SF6. I'm probably going to hop on as well. I think the guys have hopped out, but I'm probably going to play a little bit. Yeah.
But I do appreciate you bringing me on to the podcast.
No, thank you. Thank you for your time.
Fun. I'm down if again. So
yeah, for sure. Yeah, you got.
I'm down if you ever want to do this again. I
can
talk about BlazBlue for
a while.
Yeah. From those people.
If you ever need us back on here again, just let us know.
No, for sure. Definitely. I want to get like as many different perspectives as I can. So I'm gonna try and maybe get some EU guys that I don't usually talk to. Maybe Isis or Morph or Daz. Zeeg, some of those guys, but yeah. Alright, thank you very much, guys. Thank you for watching, everyone. I'll put Seven and Oni's socials down below. They both upload to YouTube. They're both on Twitter as well. I don't think they stream on Twitch that much, but I'll put their Twitches down below anyway. And yeah, you can contact them if you feel like it. If you need to ask some questions, maybe they play your character and whatnot. And I'll see you in the next episode. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.